My life chair.
Okay, right. Good morning. Welcome. I'm William J. Redley, the chair of the People's Scrutiny Committee for Prevention and Inclusion, Children's Services, and indeed Adult Services. So good morning to everyone. Okay, item one, apologies for absence.
Got apologies from Sir Bright Chair and from Councillor Harvey's the Cabinet Member.
Okay, declarations of interest. Minutes of the previous meeting, on pages 3 to 8. Do we have a mover for that? Thank you. And a seconder?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Any matters arising from that? Okay, none. Okay, and we move into item 4, the midterm review reports for social services. But before we do that, we're going to have an introduction from those around the table, as we have some pretty new faces. So we'll start from the left-hand side here.
Mary Ryan, Head of Adult Services.
Matty Shade, Service Manager, Prevention and Inclusion.
Morning, Rhiannon Williams, Service Manager, Integrated Family Support. So I have some teams in Children's Services, but also Prevention and Inclusion.
Morning, Ria Brooke, Service Manager in Children's Services.
I'm going to say apologies for Sally Jenkins, our Director of Social Services. She will be joining us. It'll be about 10:30.
And the rest, I think, elected members that everybody knows. So we're going to move on from them. Okay, so we're going to take this morning in no particular order, with the exception of adult services going through first. Okay, thank you. If you want to take us through this,
Yeah. So so in terms of the mid-year review for adult services, I think we're pretty much on plan for what we wanted to achieve this year against the backdrop of intense pressure from our health colleagues, and in terms of pressures of the amount of referrals coming through, in terms of the complexity of those referrals. So we continued. The main thing that we've worked on this year is really a redesign of our adult services. We felt there was an awful lot of front doors and a lot of barriers to people maybe coming through the front door and then going into a review team and then coming back through it all again when something else happened. So we've streamlined all that now. The 4th of December, that all went live. So we've got a sort of a strong front door in the hospital and in the community for our information advice and assistance. We make sure it's as smart as it can be to make sure people get the services from the right people that they need, whether that's not us, but whoever in the community, in terms of early intervention and prevention as well services. That has continued. We've changed what we were doing in the hospital in terms of, especially for the Royal Gwent Hospital, which is our Newport main hospital for our Newport residents. And what we've done is we've looked at the hospital social team we've had there long-standing, and we've hopefully made changes to make it a little bit smarter. So it's working much closer now with the Home First. Home First is a regional model that Newport hosts on behalf of 5 local authorities, and that is really about when people are coming into hospital, if they can be turned around in terms of increasing their care package or whatever at the front or before they're admitted, everything like that is assessed and addressed. So that has continued, but what we've done from the Newport perspective is we sort of enhanced that service so that people do get admitted. We make sure in terms of all the the discharge that they could have in terms of a step up, step down beds. We've got beds in our residential homes in terms of sometimes people maybe have had a fall, broken a hip, not ready to go home on their own, but actually need some sort of reablement support. So we move them to sort of Parklands, which is the sort of step down bed from the hospital, and in there they have sort of intense therapy, since their mobilisation. To look at assisted technology as well before they go home. So then hopefully when they do go home, they either have a smaller package of care or a more limited package of care in terms of making sure they're as independent as possible. And so that has continued. Obviously, we're still there are other pressures in the system in terms of, from a health perspective, we are now, they're reorganising anybody who has a stroke in Gwent. Everybody will go to YYF hospital, so you won't be admitted locally to the Gwent or to Grange. You know, there is one provision where they're hoping will be a centre of excellence for anybody who has a stroke in Gwent. It's just unfortunate that it's based in Caerphilly. So that's very, very new, but that will be a bit more of a challenge to us in terms of, you know, getting people up there and making sure. So we're looking at a trusted assessor model with our Caerphilly colleagues, so that the social work presence is on site there. They could do some of that early work for us, like we do in the Gwent for other authorities. So all in all, the redesign is sort of is capturing what we need to do, is putting more of a strengths-based provisions, so that we make sure that if you come through adult services and you have carers support eligible needs, that you are actually only assessed by a qualified social worker or an occupational therapist, depending on why you've come through, and actually you stay within that team then in terms of sorting out whatever it is, whether it's residential care or a package of care at home, or whatever the services are, and then you stay with that team in terms of the review. So there's no back and forth, you stay with that team. So there's 4 teams, 4 managed care teams, and we strengthen that up in terms of, we have 1 service manager, 14 managers and 8 senior practitioners, because I think what's before it hasn't been enough of anybody. So part of the redesign has meant we've had no redundancies. Unfortunately, we have had lots of vacancies, and we still do carry vacancies, but it's about how we manage the resources that we've got. So far, everything is going okay on that. So that's sort of the main bits, but if there's anything more specific in terms of, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on that presentation before we get into the depth of the mid-term review?
Chair, just a question, a clarification, really, because you dropped the audio dropped out, and I couldn't quite hear where stroke patients were going to be sent.
Yes, so from December now, all stroke patients across the Gwent footprint will all go to the YYF hospital in Caerphilly. So, yeah, if anybody arrives at the Grange or anywhere and believed to have had a stroke, they will all go to Caerphilly, where they are hoping that will become a centre of excellence. So instead of all the hospitals, a little bit of a service is going to be co-located into one place.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, we're going to start on, that's okay with you guys. I'm just going to see this page number.
Thank you.
93, thank you. And there we go, 94. You got 94, 95.
Chair, can I ask on 95, please, about the dementia hub in Newport, and how is that progressing? Is that progressing to plan? I noticed that there is a 15% against that, and orange. Could you, have I got that right? Yes. Could you say a little bit more about that, please? I want a bit of clarification.
I think from a partnership perspective, social services, health and the third sector, we've got a really strong partnership in terms of wanting that to become a reality. The issue has been about funding for a single hub in Newport. So we've started to look at different other ways that maybe we can do that in the future. We are aware that there may be slippage money in the RIF funding and etc. So we're not out the water that. I think in terms of the commitment to do it, everybody's very, very clear about that. And in terms of making it more than a dementia hub, but maybe our assistive technology, which is in the market at the moment, that being co-located there as well. So when people are calling in for general information and advice, they can see other assistive technologies as well. So it is just a matter of funding. The partnership is strong and it wants it to happen. It's just coming up with the money.
Thank you.
Any further comments on that? Okay, we go into the go beyond the midterm review.
Yeah.
As you know, we're coming up to the budget season.
Yeah.
And no surprise that budgetary implications are going to be heavy on all services.
Yeah.
It is you're struggling to attract any money as we speak. The likelihood of attracting money going forward.
Yeah.
What's the future for this?
Well, I think there is a general willingness and wanting this to happen. So I think it will be looking to RIF and external partnerships for any additional funding in terms of the RPB and whatever and various things. And there's also the ISPB where there may be some funding available there. So we are looking at that. But then if it is just about venue, then maybe we need to look at what we've got internally. What has the council got that we could potentially use for, in those costs. So we're looking at all those options.
And I think that needed to come out in the report.
Okay, yeah,
that you're looking at all options. It's not just the funding option. Maybe it's something that we can pick up the recommendation that they continue to look at alternative venues.
Yeah.
And because it's important that we get this figured out, we get this service delivered. Thank you. Page 96. 97. 98. 99. On page 99, the AMP qualifications.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that we are looking and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read this one out. The approved mental health and professionals AMP. Approved mental health and professionals. So, do you want to talk us through this and the implications of it if we don't head in the direction that you were suggesting we should head?
Okay, so it's a statutory function of the local authority. So we warrant qualified social workers, and also in 2007 the Mental Health Act was amended. So anybody who worked in mental health services, psychology, community psychiatric nurses, etc., they could all become approved mental health professionals. Before that, it was approved social worker. So they changed that. I think what's been a very a real sting that hasn't happened is health haven't taken us any of the training to ensure that there are AMPs available across the health footprint. So because it's a statutory function, it always comes back to the local authority to make sure we have enough AMPs available. Out of hours, we always have AMPs available through the emergency duty services from 5 till 8:30 in the morning, and obviously over the weekend. We have a responsibility to make sure they're available throughout the day as well. And there has been a rise in the number of mental health act assessments that have been required over the last year across Wales and Newport. We did get to a point where we were very, very low. We just didn't have the people with the qualification. They were very difficult to attract. We are doing a piece of regional work on the whole AMP professional, because the 5 local authorities will all offer slightly different terms and conditions. So you have a social work qualification and then you get paid an additional allowance. So we're looking at, we're sort of in the middle, Newport, but actually there are some teams paying more, some paying less in terms of that additional work. So we'll be looking at that regionally in terms of how we can make that more equal across the 5 authorities, so we don't have people swapping around, because that's just how anybody. But at the moment, we've attracted 3 people with qualifications since the summer, which is fantastic. And we've got 4 actually on the course now. So it's a big investment for Newport to train somebody. So it's a 6 months, pretty intense training, and then there's a 6 months shadowing. But the fact that you will end up being able to deprive somebody of their liberty for a month or 6 months or longer, actually, it's not a difficult, it's a very serious course to be on, so they need to make sure we're supporting that. So at the moment we're a little bit light in some of the teams because we've got 4 on the training, but actually it will be worth that investment for a Newport perspective.
Yes, I agree, and I just wanted to bring that out. Thank you. Okay, page 100. 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, performance measurements, 110, 11, and 12. And that completes that report. That completes that report. I'm going to give the cabinet member a chance to make comments. He always likes to make a comment, and it's Christmas, so why should I deny him that?
Good morning, Chair. How are you? Yeah, it's just to round up. I think there's a couple of things there. I think, you know, just to give the committee reassurances that we're absolutely committed to the dementia services in Newport. Mary will know that it's something quite close to my heart, as it is to many cabinet members and committee members. I'm sure it's probably of all the illnesses, one of the most difficult for families to deal with, and we're absolutely determined to sort of do the very best we can in this area. So that's just a reassurance from my part. And it's not to underestimate, I think, as well, Chair, the climate in which our social care staff are working in. It continues to be incredibly difficult. We've got a growing older population in Newport, and the cost of living crisis continues, as does the budgetary pressures, as does the workforce issues in social care, and the pressures on the NHS. I think, you know, it all contributes to a very difficult place to work for social workers in the field and social care staff in the field. But what I can say is that, you know, I'm genuinely very proud of the staff and the work that they're doing. Our partner agencies as well, the staff that we've got in health and the third sector are providing exceptional support to the services that we've got in Newport. And I think, you know, one of the areas I'd focus on as well is talking to our staff. The work that's being done behind the scenes, maybe in areas like well-being of our staff and the training of our staff as well, I think sort of needs some recognition. I think the feedback from staff was that was an area that they're all keen to see improving, and they recognise is improving. So I think, you know, there's a lot of good work going on, and I think in lots of areas we are leading the field nationally as well. So I think, you know, there's some really strong work going on in Newport despite the challenges, I think, and those challenges aren't going to go away. I think it's going to be it's going to continue to be a difficult time for social care. And what I would say is, you know, that the leadership team in redesigning and realigning some of those services are absolutely doing the right thing, and, you know, trying to create a service that's fit for purpose as we move forward into a different time period, really. And we still have the repercussions of COVID. I think people, you know, it's something we'd all like to forget, but it's still there, and those repercussions are coming through now, really. And I think, you know, the impact that that's had on lots of people's mental health and lots of other issues as well, it hasn't gone away. So I'd just like to sort of finish, if I could, Chair, just by thanking our staff really and wishing them a really happy Christmas. They've worked exceptionally hard this year. and I'm very proud of our leadership team and what they've achieved. So thank you very much, Chair.
I just make a comment further. So in terms of the dementia hub, I just want to just reassure further to Councillor Hughes. In terms of the dementia hub, yes, that will be sort of a one-off shop or, you know, front door for people to get advice, information. But I really want to reassure you in terms of the services that are provided on a daily basis to people with dementia, either early or, you know, who have got a longer standing diagnosis. We have specific beds for step up for people with dementia in terms of work very closely with our carers and in terms of making sure the carers get respite from that, as well as sort of care packages at home as well as residential. So I just want that the hub will be great and it will be an absolute bonus for our communities, but actually everything else from a dementia perspective is addressed every single day.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to seeing the end of term reports. Will be a completely different report to the midterm reports, as we know. But thank you very much indeed for your presentation. We move on now to the prevention and inclusion. And thank you.
Okay, so in terms of prevention and inclusion service area, we continue to build on last year. The team's now largely settled following the service area restructure, and some of the examples of the work being progressed have been the multi-agency review of the Promoting Positive Engagement with Young People grant to engage with young people and to prevent antisocial behaviour, remodelling and aligning of our complex play provision for children with disabilities and in the disabled children's team, and part of the corporate asset rationalisation programme. We're looking to have some buildings for P&I to work from within the community, and we're working towards that at the moment. Some of the sort of risks and challenges for the service area is the current financial climate. Obviously, the service area is largely grant funded, so that's always a risk in terms of whether grants will continue. And we this in the last 6 months we lost our early intervention project, which was commissioned by the OPCC, Policing Crime Commissioners Service. So that was a real sort of blow. That will end at the end of March. But we'll continue to work with our colleagues in the hub to ensure that we are responding to those PPMs that come in from the police. Some of the achievements that we've had in the last 6 months have been, we've had a positive internal audit of the Family Information Service, and we continue to have a successful partnership with Newport Live, and we've transitioned the Aspire Alternative Education Programme over to Newport Live to run that, which was previously the youth service. We're actively working towards Newport becoming a age-friendly city and a member of the World Health Organization to become a member of the Global Age-Friendly Network. And there's been lots of public engagement to shape that delivery plan. And there's a steering group which is regularly run that looks at that. We've got the Fly and Start expansion programme, which is a big expansion programme in early years, which means that we're being able to reach an increasing number of children and families to provide childcare and parental support. There's been successful transfer and merge of the community connectors and community engagement team. So that's become the community strategy and delivery team. And they're continuing to do work with unpaid carers on the age-friendly communities work, and also delivering the community engagement team within that service of delivering some half-term activities for children, fun, etc. So that's been a really successful merger with lots of things going on in the community, which is supported by the community engagement team. There's also been the successful recommissioning of the substance misuse services to children and young people, which has been a big, long piece of work, which has come to a final conclusion. We strengthened safeguarding practice and understanding across P&I with social work support. So we've got safeguarding leads and champions within the teams. Got improved coordination of multi-agency parenting courses. So the preventions team are now delivering a number of parenting courses along with the early years provision. And they're linking together to make sure that all parents of all age children are able to attend a parenting course if needed. We've also had the transfer of the disabled parking bays to the adaptations team, so they will be, working on that coming up. I think the application process is currently underway. EcoFlex 4 programme has also commenced, so that's the adaptations team. They've linked with energy provider, and they'll be rolling that out and processing those applications. We've had a continued reduction in the waiting times for families of children with disabilities accessing preventative support, and that's been about the disabled children's team becoming a much larger service with a big preventative element of it, and lots of work being done around that. Continued development of the Wide Bridge and the Gap short break services for carers, which was launched in August. Those are sort of the main successes. I've touched on sort of the risks in terms of grant funding, but and the loss of our early intervention project, and also, which has already been mentioned, the national workforce challenges, which are huge in social care in terms of being able to recruit and retain staff to deliver all that we can. We've been busy.
We've also looked at external funding, so the Youth Endowment Fund. Unfortunately, we weren't successful. We put a large bid in for that particular pot of funding. We've secured additional shared prosperity funding for the rollout of additional youth provision and to build on the PPYP project linked to antisocial behaviour. So we try to look beyond the local authority and apply for external grants to secure some of the provision.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move forward. Page 17. Let's go through page 18. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to congratulate the youth service on going for their silver mark, because they gained their bronze, was it last year? And that's absolutely brilliant. Well done to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm not sure what page that was, but at the moment, but there we go. Page 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
Chair, can I ask a question on page 27, please?
Yes, by all means.
Where it says on the bottom, develop a high quality, robust citywide youth service. It says children will have access to out of hours youth provision. Who provides that out of hours provision?
So the youth service is delivered in-house through the local authority, but there's also contracts that are provided to community organisations such as Media Unlimited and the Earth from a Welsh-speaking perspective too. So the majority is delivered in-house, but there are partnership arrangements in the community to bring in specialist skills in diversity and Welsh-speaking provision.
Lovely, thank you. And once again, I'd like to say what Councillor Cleverly have said. Brilliant report. Well done to you all for what you've done, and I especially took interest in all the case studies you've done. It's really interesting to have those studies and those feedbacks so that we can see what you're doing, what you're achieving, and how well and how successful you all are with helping these families. So well done, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Page 28. Okay, on page 28, for no particular reason, So this is not sort of aimed at your report. An opportunity for us. We've been having a discussion. So on page 28, bottom page, expected completion date is the 31st of March 24. We're going 25% and we're green. So we know that's an expected on-course delivery. It's confusing that it's green. What happens? I mean, some of this, the other 75% could be delivered by, it could be affected by outside forces. Does that then make you red? Are you relying? How do you get? We just find it totally confusing that we're showing green, and yet it's not really green yet. It's 75% away from being green. But I do get your part is complete. I understand. And I don't know. I mean, can comment on it. Just find it confusing.
Yeah. I think that we anticipate full completion of that volunteering strategy by the end of March. We're working with HR colleagues to broaden the scope of volunteering opportunities across prevention and inclusion, across all the services there. We're working with comms and marketing and linking in with the new web development. But the percentage is low, but our anticipation is that we fully complete that volunteering strategy for the end of March.
Does a cabinet member find this slightly confusing?
I think if I can, I think if I can, Chair, I think when you see 25% in green and 25% in say amber, then if it's a 25% in green, a lot of that work to be done will come in at a later stage in the project. And I think, you know, what our staff are saying, I guess, is that when it's 25% in green, that the expectation is that we'll hit the targets at the projected time. It would be a different matter if it was 25% in amber, where, you know, there'd be other challenges that we'd have to overcome to get to that stage. But I think, you know, what you're seeing there really is I guess a 25% and reassurance because it's green, because the anticipation and the expectation there is that we should be on target to reach those targets by the anticipated time frame.
I understand that, but what if that's not achievable due to outside forces? Then what happens?
Well, absolutely, but that could be the case if it was 70% and green as well. I think, you know, it would then change to a different colour, wouldn't it? So in that, you know, the anticipation sort of stage would change, and like all our policies, I guess we're subject to what could happen from outside influences across the board. So we could be 10% away from finishing a project, but that 10% might be the most difficult part and the one that's most subject to outside influences. So, you know, at the moment, what we can say is it's 25% and on track to sort of complete. So, you know, that's I guess what the colouring is suggesting there.
I get that, because there's lots of things throughout this report that are not complete. There are things that are complete. They're both green, and we just find it confusing because you are governed by outside forces that are beyond your control. And for my rudimental understanding, if it's outside your control, you're in someone else's hands. So it could go back to amber or red. They
could all go back, you know, they could all go back or forward.
Absolutely, of course it could. But this is where I would much prefer to see this in a laid out differently that was able to demonstrate that yes, we're on track, but we're now waiting. Now we could be in the hands of something that's beyond our control that could knock us off track. But anyway, we've said it. There's nothing we can do about it. I just ask you to note that, and we'll keep an eye on it.
We haven't identified any risks that are linked to that particular project as yet that would influence the trajectory of the green in any way. So
Very clever. Thank you. Thank you. I have great faith in you. There we go. But thank you. Thanks for your input on that.
Cheers,
29.
Councillor Marshall. Just to add on to that, as colleagues have just said, the commentary should also allow for some kind of background information of where we currently stand, or what the issues are, if there is issues. So it's just to remind colleagues to have a look at that as well, because it should give the context of where we stand and where we're going to, and what any potential issues may be, whether it be staffing, funding, or other. Just to make you aware of that, Chair. Thank you.
Yes, it does actually say that it still puts us in the hands of external forces that are outside or could be outside our control. But we get that. Thank you, Stephen. Page 29. So I apologise for that. I had to go in backwards in time for some reason. So why? Right. Page 30. Thank you. Page 30 and page 31 and 32. 33. Okay, case studies, couple of them. I'd like to comment on that. And anybody who wants to comment further? Page 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I found the case studies were excellent. It does help us understand. We've seen them before. They were excellent then, and the same there. It does give us a better understanding. Thank you. Page 30, 46, 45, sorry. Page 45, 46, and that concludes the end of that midterm report. But do you want to go through? Anybody want to say anything on the case study reports? Be happy with it? Yeah, I guess we are.
I just want to add further that I found them very informative, and I appreciate that they are included in the report, because it gives you a broad perspective of the work of social services in this regard.
Yes, it's that's another license to read. Thank you. Okay, that concludes the prevention and inclusion part of it. So now we're going to move on to children's services. Mid-year review. Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So removing profits from children's care is a risk at present on the corporate register of delivering children's services. As we know, we've discussed already more nationwide, there's concern about staff retention, and providers of care are dropping from the market, raising costs significantly at the moment, therefore raising issues for children's services. So to mitigate this, we're looking at a regional and national level around recruitment and retention of staff. We're also looking at the provisions of children coming into care. We host a not-for-profit team regionally under the Eliminate Agenda, and there's lots of work being undertaken to support our children that are in placements with profit agencies at present. Newport is in the best position than other local authorities across Wales due to our existing portfolio of accommodation. And we also have a smaller number of for-profit foster carers. We also have Cambridge House renovation ongoing at present and Rosedale annexes. The overspend in children's services is attributed to residential care due to the increase of cost and loss of provision. We do have access to capital funding, but the challenge comes from revenue funding and those opportunities at present. We're working with Foster Wales locally and regionally and trying to engage with foster agencies to scope if it's viable for carers to come across to Newport that are with profit agencies. The demand across the service areas does continue to increase, including the demand within the front door safeguarding hub, and we've seen an increase of referrals to 1,200 a month. We're looking now at a remodel of the front door, ensuring that the resources we have are rightly placed to respond to that risk. We're doing lots of work around care leavers, work experience and traineeships, and developing supported living accommodation for our 16 to 18-year-olds when preparing them for independence. The immigration team is up and running and sharing resources, and we're in discussions around a regional immigration team, and a paper has been submitted to Went Heads of Service. And we're working across the council to look to align services to see where we can fill any potential gaps, and working really closely with our partners across the council to support children's services.
Okay, thank you. Any points? Stephen Marshall. Is that an old hand, Stephen? A legacy hand? Yeah.
That was on the
Okay.
previous report, Chair. But if you would like me to speak, I don't mind speaking as well.
I think we leave it to the end.
Yep, certainly,
I
Chair.
think
Thank you.
that'd be nice, just like Jason did on it. Yeah.
Nationwide is a retention issue with social workers. For what reason? Not so much as retention as in our Newport staff keeping them, but for residential staff, I think it's a very challenging area for which to work. We're quite lucky in our retention of social workers across our child protection teams. It's more the residential areas, I think, because of the challenges that.
Yeah. Yes.
However, further in terms of that sort of retention social work, we know there aren't enough social workers going into the training across Wales, so we know we're in a deficit every year in Wales the last 3 years in terms of the amount of people going into training and the ones that come out. So when they are coming out, they're very precious commodities, and we're doing whatever we can to retain them. But also Newport, both adults and children preventions, we also provide training for people to become social workers, sort of like a trainee mentorship that we do through Open University. So all 3 services are doing that. Okay.
I think that the not-for-profit Eliminate programme is still a major concern for all of us around this table, as it does seem that providers are running for the hills because of it. So we're not bringing them along, and costs are going up, and significantly. A word that's well used by your team. And it's a frightening amount of money, that word, significantly. And as we're going into budget terms now, I guess I'm not going to ask you to forecast anything yet. I'll wait until the end of the report. That's do we have plan Bs and Cs? Do you want to reiterate them again?
Yeah.
As service providers go down and demand goes up.
Yeah, we absolutely have plan Bs and Cs, but we've been looking at our most highly costly provisions and looking at how we can manage them. We've managed to bring out agency staff and put in our own staff team, which reduces costs significantly for our higher cost. Children in residential placements. There's a huge piece of work going on at the moment around agency staff and the reduction of being able to use agency staff within Newport, potentially peripatetic staff, so that we can support through the residential homes. So there's lots of work going on both within Newport and regionally around how we can support that.
But isn't agency staff still high because we lack the skill of some of the agency staff that we have to bring in? And my understanding is costs escalate because some providers are more costly than others. It's just the way it is. I mean, we're probably paying top dollar for what we get here.
Absolutely.
I'm not quite sure how impacting the Eliminate project has on that, or is it part of it combined with the other recruitment and retention issue that we have in social care?
Yeah, so the Eliminate team is covering, it's all encompassing, so
Yeah.
it's covering all of it. And we are working, obviously the Eliminate team that we have works regionally. And we are securing additional provision. We've got Cambridge House, which we're looking at being completed by July next year in terms of renovations. And the Rosedale annexes, we've just put in a request for the registration around them. So we're building our portfolio to be able to manage these costs in-house rather than having our children and young people being out in residential provisions where, you know, there are significant costs and usually not within the area.
And as we look to try and make positive recommendations to the cabinet members here today, what's our realistic working relationship in collaboration with the NHS like? Do we actually really collaborate with them going forward in the future? Is there any way that, because budgets are squashed everywhere, is there any way a greater collaboration could be done? Because they too are facing higher costs and higher demands for their placements as well. So is there a coming together, or could be a coming together, or there should be, in my opinion? I'm gonna a cabinet member come in for a second. Come in. You're on mute, cabinet member. Jason, you're on mute.
What an amateur. Yeah, we work closely across lots of different ways with our health colleagues. I was in a meeting with health this morning just before we coming on here, so we do speak to them. We speak to them through lots of different ways, but obviously the regional partnership board is the key way that I would engage with them. And that covers a whole spectrum of areas, but you know, going back to a lot of the work that we do in prevention services, both in adult and children, that takes a lot of pressure off the health service, and I think, you know, it's in their interest as well to talk to us, you know, in the sense that, you know, a lot of that work is specifically about how do we stop people going into hospitals, how do we improve children's mental health. So across the board we're doing work that actually hopefully keeps people, all our residents, out of hospital where that's possible. So we do have frequent meetings with health, and I know you know, Sally would meet Anne Lloyd, who's my sort of colleague on regional partnership board, if not weekly, sort of daily now these days. But yeah, so there's a lot of work going on, but as you can imagine, there's a significant amount of pressure on our NHS services as well. And you know, that's the climate we're working in, unfortunately.
Is there collaboration on children's services specifically, rather than the hospital side of things?
Yeah.
The older adult, I would suggest.
And I think Windmill Farm is a shining example of our collaborations with health. Windmill Farm is a social services and health therapeutic residential provision that we have co-produced, and Windmill Farm is doing very, very well. We're in regular meetings with health. We want to strengthen our partnerships with all agencies, including health, and health are very keen to bring that to the table with us as well. So we're constantly looking and reviewing how that works.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was Windmill Farm, I thought, was a perfect example of,
Yeah, okay.
health and social care working together. So
Thank you. And we go page 71. And then I know the question can on page 72. Do you have a question?
Okay, well, on yes, fine, Chair. Windmill Farm. What's the percentage occupation of Windmill Farm?
Windmill Farm is at capacity at present. I believe, I'm not exactly sure how many young people are in there, but I can find that out to get back to you, but I do know that they are full at present.
Thank you.
Okay, page 73.
I've got a question, Chair, on 73. and it's about Vaudas V, bottom of the page. Is the funding of Vaudas V completely secure? And how will outsourced commissioning of the regional IDVA service help?
That I think, Chair, if it's okay, I'll pick that one up. So it's a very timely arrival.
Okay,
So-
good morning, Sally.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. So the RSB funding is a mixture of funding streams. Some of it is grant funding from Welsh Government. Some of it comes from the Police and Crime Commissioner, and then some of it comes from the local authorities and from the Health Board and Police. So it's a range of funding streams. In terms of the IFA and the commissioning, each of the local authorities is currently in the process of signing the legal agreement to confirm the funding going forward. Is it 100% secure? I don't think any funding is 100% secure currently, Councillor Jewett. I think it's probably as secure as it can be. I do think that the grant funding from Welsh Government in relation to Vaudas V is probably one of the areas of grant funding that I would feel more confident about than many others, partly because of the weight of pressure that there is to continue that funding. So I can't give you 100% it's safe as houses, but it's probably as safe as it can be.
I wonder, Chair, thank you, Sally. I wonder, Chair, what this committee can do to help that, if it needs to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a watching brief in that arena as we go forward in order to ensure that the grant funding remains at the levels it's at, but also that the local authorities, each of the local authorities, continue with the commitment that they've currently made into this work. I'm not sure at this point there's anything else. The wider work of the Vaudas V partnership came to scrutiny last week. So it came to partnership scrutiny, and a number of members, there's really strong engagement at that scrutiny, and a number of questions at that point were raised, which I know that Amy has subsequently answered. So I'm not sure that there's anything at this point that this scrutiny could put in that would assist right now. It might come to that, but not for them.
Thank you.
What we could do, Councillor Druitt, is to ensure that I'm sure that the cabinet member is fully aware of it, and ensure that cabinet is aware of our concerns regarding the funding, etc.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
That's what we can do. Okay, 74. 75. 76. 77 and 8. Yes, yes.
Chair, I got a question on 77, housing for care leavers. It mentions there's 3 properties. Could we have an update on that, please? On what properties they are? It mentions the one in Stanley Road, but nothing about the 2 other properties.
I'm afraid we're not able to discuss what properties they are in a public meeting.
Okay. And I think we'll leave that there. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you.
We don't need an explanation. It's got the explanation, and I don't want anything else to come out. Sally can update us later if you like.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you want to do it on there? Okay.
no, I mean, we can update the generality of it. What we can't do is give the specifics of the addresses. So,
No, you don't want to.
yeah, no.
I mean, just leave it
Yeah.
for that. If any member has any concerns about that, if they contact
Yeah,
the Director of Social Services, they could have a general chat then.
so cleverly, if you'd like to contact myself or Natalie or Jake McCabe, any one of us would be happy to talk to you about housing for care leavers more generally, because there is a huge amount of work going on in that area. It's a really positive area. And
Thanks, Sally. I understand completely. Thank you.
And I guess that maybe we could have a report back to this committee on it,
Yeah,
on the work that's going on about it.
Sure. Yeah, we can
Going
do that.
forward.
Chair, can I just ask?
Yeah, please.
Sally, why is one place identified?
It shouldn't have been identified as an error.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Only Chair, if you want us to do a report, if that's an action for Sam, I'm sure we can arrange that.
Yeah, I think that would be nice just to have a, because as you can see, members are looking at this and wanting to understand more within the context of confidentiality.
For sure.
And the error, even I could have picked up on
Yeah,
that,
so
but
we need to make a note.
we'll just move on quickly from that. And hope that those three watching at home and the public don't pick up on it. Thank you. Page 77. 78. 79. 80. 81. 82. 83. 84. 85. 86. This matrix 87. And that concludes the review for children's services, or the mid-year review for children's services, which is an indication of where we're going. It's not a promise, but that. I did say that I would let the cabinet member, Stephen Marshall, have a comment, few words at the end of this review. Over to you, cabinet member. And I love your background.
Thank you very much, Chair. Fitting for the season. Yeah, thank you. So amongst all the challenges, I hope members appreciate the positivities within the report. There is a lot of work going on, including some of the work that we are one of the better positions that, you know, in Wales in relation to the in-house provision that we provide. Yet we do have challenges in the type of building, things like that. We're moving forward. It is being looked at. And when members, you know, when it can be made more aware, members will be made aware of that as well. It is something that I take to heart on that as well, to make sure that we do what we can do for the young people that need it. And it's just one of, you know, the things, as my colleague and Councillor Hughes noted, in relation to the staffing. Yes, there's challenges across the board. However, the hard-working and loyal, and it's just a deep appreciation and thank you for everything that they're doing as well. And just to signify, there is a lot of work being done in partnership internally and externally with partners, and I think some of that just goes to show with the fantastic Children Looked After party I went to the other day. Absolutely incredible, you know, the smiles on children's faces, foster carers, everything, absolutely fantastic. And I really do appreciate all foster carers, you know, anyone that supports the local authority in any way, shape or form, because the work they do is basically essential, but it's also, you know, a lot of them give it in their own free time and things like that to support. So just a massive appreciation for all of that, to make sure that we are in the best position that we can be. So it's a deep thank you and appreciation across the board there. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. Okay, that concludes this for you guys anyway. So I take an opportunity to wish you Merry Christmas, and I hope you all get rested up and have a nice and peaceful year, and also to the cabinet members as well. Thank you. So we're going to let you go. Then we're going to
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Merry Christmas all.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, true. Oh, yes, okay, and we're going to continue and over to Sam now. Thank you.
Brilliant. So if I just try and summarize that comments and recommendations that I've managed to capture, obviously I think across the board, community wants to congratulate staff for their hard work. So we'll put that as a comment. There was a recommendation made to look at alternative venues for the dementia hub within our own stock.
Yeah.
There's a recommendation, or I suppose it's more of a comment to highlight the importance of the funding for the water speed projects. And and that's more of a comment than a recommendation there. and then an update on the work being done for care leavers,
Yes.
which Sally agreed to give us an
Yeah.
information report on. That's all I've captured as at the minute. Is there anything committee want to add, anything I've missed?
No,
Content with that?
we are content with that.
Brilliant. And if it's all right with you, Chair, I'll power straight through to the next item.
Please do.
So for our forward work programme, there's been a slight change to the budget date. We were supposed to meet on the 2nd of January. That's been pushed back to the 16th of January, so we sit within the consultation period. Same time as we normally meet, 10 AM start. But that's the only change really to our forward work programme. Looking at our action sheet then, there are a few ongoing items that have been chased. I've spoken to Sarah Morgan and Sarah Davis for the education items yesterday and today, and they're looking to get those done as soon as possible. Just more of a reassurance that we will have the actions we've asked for. I know that the actions from today was just that information report. Obviously, I can liaise with Sally about that going forward then. That's all from me, Chair.
Excellent. Okay, there's nothing else now, unless anybody got anything else to add. And so it's goodbye from me. Bye bye from her. And Merry Christmas to you all. And I'll see you next year, God willing, of course. So take care.